every human cell contains genes, which determine the characteristics of the atomo in their existence, and every gene is found on thread-like structures of the chromosomes, which bear the hereditary code. This hereditary code of the chromosomes bears the primordial substance with respect to the somata and the chromus. And while the somata, as a dense texture of energy, give the characteristics of the sarkio, the chromus as energetic spectra of frequencies determine, include and potentially analyze all 11 intangible parts of the human soma. In this way, absolutely completing the individual somatic structure of the 12 parts of every human existence. This individual hereditary code contains elements and characteristics common to all humans. These exact common elements and characteristics, which are included in the human genome which exists in all humans, is the primordial substance. As a common code inherited from our homometrial God creators, with the identification of the primordial substance of gods and humans as an induction. Since through nomoteleia, the structure of every soma originating from our genus has 12 parts, and each one of these contains 12 individual elements of our 12 Olympian God creators. Thus the hereditary elements of the human substance from the Olympian God creators is 12 times 12 equals 144 in an absolute complete nomoteleian causality, summating to 9 the human as a precipitate of theogony. This absolute mathematical, creative harmony of theogony is the result of an antecedent of immense nomoteleian cosmogony in which 12 different cosmogonic elements were bequeathed in every Olympian entity during their creation, which are included in the 12 elements imparted in a theogonic manner to the human, in total reaching a creative completion, 12 to the 12th power, with a sum of 9, again providing the primordial substance to the common hereditary code of the human, which includes elements of theogony and cosmogony in its entirety. The 12 Olympian creative forces, with their unique attributes, each one separately, bequeathed the primordial substance with a line of beginning from the arito and whole light, so that we are within geodesy as universal beings. The creative divine Olympian forces have no gender, and the name in which we invoke them as humans concerns the attribute of their divine entity. These creative forces as constructors of our planet, Demeter, possess all the secrets of its construction. This knowledge can only be given by them as it would happen in times past, when there was communication between the gods and humans. They were aware of the perfect geodesy and gave the necessary information to the humans regarding the positions where cities and oracles were to be built, and they designated all the stable sacred places of our temples. The only form of communication between gods and humans was through the primordial substance, and today, too, just like then, for a design which has to be executed by gods, heroes, and humans. Their communication occurs only through their primordial substance. All the aforementioned elements of creation have a clearly creative, functional depiction in the universal womb of Canis, Sirius, which avails the composition of the cosmogonic connection, strictly adhering to the divine equation of creation with each hyper-ion, Sirius having 12 ion suns, and each ion sun 12 planets in the depiction of the divine. Sacred creation in absolute parallelism of the equation. As above, so below, with an unequivocal nomoteleian character. All of creation, cosmogony. Theogony and whatever exists is a result of the self-existent, imparticipable, primordial nous, and without this absolutely nothing exists. It is defined as seemingly stationary, however it is in perpetual motion. This creative nous is the arito and divine light, the cause of all causalities as a conceivable causality. The creative cosmogony includes elements of the initial cause of the arito, in which constitute the hereditary elements of a human's theogony reaching the magnificence of their primordial substance, to have a direct root in their initial genesis of universal creation. In other words, from arito and whole light as heirs of this utmost inherited code. We share the same substance by convergence as an absolute prescribed element, a final causality of arito, and itself of the supreme self-existent creative nous. And within this conceivability, all of creation is included. As humans having primordial substance with an initial point of creative reference to arito, and bearing a portion of the initial self-existent nous, each one of us has life-giving cosmic energy, functionable in all the diastatic levels which exist this energy, life on Gaia. Demeter as a bios is only one of the manifestations from the hundreds of thousands that exist from the cosmogonic creative energy with all that this entails in its human formation. This formation is integrated into the laws and regulations of this particular diastatic space-time plane and energy. Where life and death are one for death is an integral part of life with death. The energy of life does not end, but rather metamorphoses, taking its initial form with its initial forces and attributes. Death is the end of a bios. In other words, one particular chronicle duration within the eternal continuation of the line of one life, which will continue to form depending on which design it is integrated into, so as to continue the execution of the divine design as it has been defined by the divine design. For all the diastatic levels of cosmic life, the nomotelean ascension of the human owing to primordial substance is the continuous movement from the arito and whole light. When the human is set outside, the mesoteta they are found outside nomotelea, that is outside the connecting line of their primordial substance and is found outside nomotelean design. This brings huge delays in the divine design, resulting in setting a course opposite to that of ascension. In other words, a course of retreat, descension, a downfall to the depths of time in the abyss of oblivion, on a course without declining limits, just as the course of ascension is without limits, and as the ascending course is inverted by the diversion of the human from the mesoteta of their existence. So too is their approach to mesoteta, which reverses the course of downfall back towards ascension. If on a course of downfall there is no voluntary change of a cognitive being or planetary entity or galactic or one whole diastatic level, or even one multi-diastatic cluster. The decisions and limits are set only by God creators and the hierarchy of creation, which the Aritoan has set. Creation as a monad has the control of time-space and all the dimensions and all the hyper-technology of all creation in its hands. It is capable of immediate cessation of whatever deviates from the divine design with complete obliteration as if it never existed, vanishing codes, archives, memories, and elements of their creation. Creation as a monad also has the unique force and ability to transform and metamorphose any creation which has diverted from the divine design and has fallen from nomotelea. It has the force to create a perfect living environment in places which are today wastelands. It is a fact that every diversion from nomotelea and the exit from the divine design has horrifying, ghastly, and inhuman consequences for all the cognitive beings, and especially for the human and all their environment. The oblivion of humans is horrific to accept the catastrophe of their environment as being natural. their horrid survival, their isolation from their environment, the horrifying increase of hybrid presence. On all the levels and all the forms which confine space in the conditions which the planet offers to humans, conditions of downfall which continue and will continue to decline until the creative forces set the limits for the complete obliteration of everything outside non-Mortalian creation, or to restore and metamorphose whatever exists and functions outside non-Mortalia on our planet as homometrial beings originating from our God creators. Humans who possess the primordial substance, which includes all the elements and characteristics of complete creation. Knowing our position in Mesoteta and approaching it, we reverse our course of descension to a direction towards non-Mortalian ascension, and we invoke all the creative forces of our primordial substance to restore and metamorphose everything on our planet, which is outside non-Mortalia. Humans are to take the position which belongs to them. In their natural visible environment, all the apostatic actions are to be metamorphosed to non-Mortalian actions. All the geodetic energies, all the energetic gateways belonging to initial creation are to be restored, and all the actions are to be attuned to one harmonic spectrum of transmission and reflect the physiological function of our planet. In accordance with the divine design aligned with our primordial substance, we invoke the metamorphosis of every being which is deprived of primordial substance to have the ability of natural and physiological survival possibilities under the conditions of non-Mortalia. We invoke the metamorphosis of the billions who today live on our planet, giving them the opportunity of integration within non-Mortalia, cosmogony and theogony, to be integrated into the divine design of creation, which is the starting point of creation, the Arito and whole light, and it is completed, closing the infinite creative cycle at the initial point of inception into the Arito and whole light itself. By following this creative cycle of the divine design, the Ellen human overcomes all the tests and passions. Their line of life identifies with truth and the axis of the Ellanian protocols. They execute all the labors of their Odyssey in the infinite firmament, and it is forged by all the cosmic frequencies until they recognize and perceive everything the true and the just, with their free will, fighting to be integrated into and approach the Mesoteta of their non-Mortalia. Abiding by the oath's laws and attuned to the self-existent creative knows, so as to perceive the force and responsibility of existence to eliminate every potential error during their ascending course. The end of this ascending course is the end of the creative cycle, which is exactly the beginning of a new creative divine design where the causality becomes the course. God Creator, and where this portion of nous becomes absolute. One with the initial self-existent nous there where the Ellen human El, the divine light, lean, to see the whole light, absolutely connects with the Arito, and whole light, closing this creative cycle when the Ellen human unites with the Arito and divine light. The first part of the divine design is completed, which is essentially the reproduction and expansion of the Arito One itself with cosmogonic, theogonic consciousnesses, putting an end to their timeless loneliness with the portions of itself, this expanded, imparticipable, initial creative. Nous now begins the infinite scheduled veritable hypercosmic creation. The primordial substance is that which makes you one with everything, and everything is within you. You do not recognize this now since you are distant from your primordial substance. But you have it. You live with your primordial substance because it is a component of everything and it is yours and is included everywhere. Your primordial substance is your immortality itself, which only to complete the first part of the divine design and reach and identify with the Arito and whole light. Billions of years are necessary for this is your destination, which means your primordial substance is the bearer of the immortality of your nous, your unconscious and your cosmic energy. How is it possible to be distant from your primordial substance? How is it possible to ignore the cosmogony, theogony of your origin? How is it possible not to know the divine design of your creation? How is it possible not to know your highest sacred destination? Who are you to betray your primordial substance? Who are you to delay the divine design? Who are you who kills Nomotaleia? Who are you to cancel your immortality? Who are you to destroy the divine gift? Your environment? Who are you to insult the Arito and whole light? As an Ellene human, I feel the greatest honor and recognize my primordial substance in the depths of time and to the ends of the cosmoses and hypercosmoses. I was chosen by the divine, cosmogonic and theogonic forces to be the epicenter of the divine design. I honor and will honor their choice to be an Ellene and bear the primordial substance of my genus, which is their genus acknowledging my primordial substance. Till the end I take this oath to honor and protect it with the mesoteta of my existence. Abiding by the Ellanian protocols, we invoke all the elements of our substance till the Arito and to feel the greatness and magnificence of the divine light and become worthy, since we have been chosen by the divine design to be integrated within it, honoring our primordial substance. We invoke the awareness of the inscribed design of the Arito N within our primordial substance, a gift from the Arito N to each and every one of us, and by not acknowledging our primordial substance. It is desecration and hubris against all the creative forces, starting from the Arito and to be acknowledged, to be inscribed, to be honored, Genoito,